Lives evolved, and even stories. Time evolved, and even minds. But remained were marks of good, of bad, of rising, of revolution, of cries. There was a time when the pace of India lost its destiny. 31st December 1600, when the process of a nation being regarded as a country started forcefully by a body of outsiders that never belonged to this land. To your astonishment, those dictators were traders of a company named East India Company. Trade was in its flow and ruling was assumed to be strategy. The time came when they had to fight their battles to continue the plans of holding our land in their hands. 1757, Battle of Plassey. 1764, Battle of Buxar, and in the following years, Anglo-Mysore Wars. 1857, the Sepoy Mutiny, the war that shook the company, which caused the British government to take over more direct control of India from the East India Company. The story starts when the revolt started from a rumor. At a certain time, the sepoys refused to use new rifle cartridges when a rumor got to spread that it was lubricated with grease containing a mixture of pigs and cows' lard, which was religiously impure for Muslims and Hindus. The soldiers started marching, and one of them was the harbinger of the 1857 rebellion, Mangal Pandey. The ensuing battle was ferocious on both sides and ended in defeat for the Indian troops, but it forced the government to work on the financial crisis caused by the mutiny, which led to a reorganization of the Indian administration finances on a modern basis. The Indian army under British rule was also extensively reorganized, and expectations for a new sun were regenerating in Indian minds. India was on the verge to rise for rebellion, with the motto of living for India, sacrificing that life for India. (1905), when the partition of Bengal shook the nation and its citizens. It separated the largely Muslim eastern areas from the largely Hindu western areas. The British planned to weaken Bengal, the nerve center of Indian nationalism, and divide the Muslims and Hindus, breaking our nation's strength of unity. 1906, the Muslim League was formed. 1911, the British government moved the capital from Calcutta to Delhi. 1915, after a 21-year stay in South Africa, a great soul with a mind of development returned to India, and his name was Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. He spent his first year traveling throughout the Indian subcontinent to understand the needs of the people. Following 3 successful movements led by Gandhi, hope was reborn. Time passed and the darker days didn't miss a chance to leave us. The Jallianwala Bagh massacre, the Rowlatt Act, Simon Commission death of Lala Lajpat Rai, Bengal famine, and more, but a little sight of brightness was still to be seen. Non-cooperation movement, Bardoli Satyagraha, Dandi March, Quit India movement, formation of Indian National Army. Mahatma Gandhi, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, Mangal Pandey, and young martyrs, Sardar Bhagat Singh, Sukhdev Rajguru, Khudiram Bose, Ram Prasad Bismil, Ashfaqullah Khan, Roshan Singh, and so many more to name as the bravest sons of India. Succeeding the movements, a lot of dreams had to unify for a unifying independent nation. And independent India was now not much far away.
At the stroke of midnight on August 15, 1947, the Indian nation has achieved freedom from more than 2 centuries of colonial rule, after a multifaceted struggle for independence with a strong minded vision and an ignition of hope at the edge of our dreams. That day has arrived, and an independent India awakes bright among every other nation. And the evolving era of a modern India begins right now, at this moment, where we all take the pledge of developing through unity in diversity.
1946, when Muhammad Ali Jinnah of Muslim League called for direct action day, and India was to be partitioned with the name of religion, initiating riots. A part of India was cut with fights against each other. Muslims and Hindus fought against themselves, resulting in tears of blood in our nation. The nation Gandhi dreamed, the nation Netaji dreamed, the nation the freedom fighters dreamed, was on its way to being destructive, inevitable. And the partition was in form of two, India and Pakistan, a division which our dreams did not support. It soon led to an end, but there was something that shocked the entire nation. It was 1948, and the Mahatma was shot dead by Nathuram Godse, a former member of RSS and Hindu Mahasabha. India lost its father, and an India after Gandhi followed. India, back to where we are. In between, we had wars, unified contributions, and so much to speak of. I did complete my task in 5 days, but on the sixth day, I felt like I lost myself. My father lost his life in a sandstorm in an excavating site in the west. He stuck a note for my return in the wall, if I could have reached home early. He wrote nothing but a statement to enjoy the first sunrise of my devotion to the nation with pride and joy. I noticed in my paper that the fourth and fifth places to be listed for my search were empty. I do realize today what he meant by this and what he wished for me to learn. I do realize that those two places were nowhere but my today of discovery and the tomorrow I will live in with. I tend to now repeat my father's word to you as well. The time my father left me was when I learned that in every battle of development, we need two states of nations. A nation that has built us and a nation that we have built. When I feel his absence, I feel the absence of freedom in the young minds of British India. Every time our nation suffered what it had to. The question stands today, why do we fail the nation? Why do crime, corruption, and hatred break it all? Why do we get divided amongst our own people? What is the thing that makes us repeat words of war and detestation continuously? What makes us talk about the splitting of Indians on the basis of their race, caste, gender, or wealth? Why do we forget that we live in that nation where we fought back our battles as Indians, not divided persons? We have an old habit of never asking for conclusions. Every time we did, we do, and will always demand a legitimate solution. It's time we end the questionnaire pointing at our history, our past, our civilization. I did find a travail in this journey, a travail I discovered in myself, a travail I discover in you. An unstoppable flame calls us back once again today to relive a definition of courage, gallantry, and sacrifice. We are the uprising just like the sun that rises up each day, and we define freedom as an attraction of an unconfined mind. And so did they who bestowed each drop of the flame for one nation and one act of unification. We are now what the nation depends on, and we must never forget that a Mahatma Gandhi still lives in us, a Netaji still lives in us, a Sardar Bhagat Singh still lives in us, a Chandrasekhar Azad still lives in us. This nation still lives in us, an Indian still lives in us. All this time, the nation has put its best to build us, and it's time we build it up as well. Even the word revolution says rise and evolution. The nation was always of its belonging and will always be. You are the rise, you are the evolution, you are the revolution. It's time to develop within us. I wish maybe a better version of me is reborn in the next generation who is not yet late to search for the devotion to the nation, who is not yet late to tell you that the nation is not only what we are, but also what we can be. Quote once said so correct, that if there is one place on the face of earth where all the dreams of living man have found a home from the very earliest days when man began to dream of existence, it is India. सरफरोशी की तमन्ना अब हमारे दिल में है, देखना है जोर कितना बाजुए कातिल में है। ऐ शहीद मुल्क मिल्लत मैं तेरे ऊपर निसार, अब तेरी हिम्मत का चर्चा गैर की महफिल में है। वक्त आने पे बता देंगे तुझे ऐ आसमां, हम अभी से क्या बताए क्या हमारे दिल में है। खींच कर लाई है सबको कत्ल होने की उम्मीद, आशिकों को आज जमघट कुछ आए कातिल में है। सरफरोशी की तमन्ना अब हमारे दिल में है, देखना है जोर कितना बाजुए कातिल में है, बाजुए कातिल में है।
Did we win?
No, the nation won. It always did, and it always do.